And as we have written in the letter which was sent together with this link, this video recording will be in open access on YouTube. So please consider that. And also we will make screenshots. It's just an organizational issue which is important to tell. Also, I would like to ask everybody, when you do not present, please switch off a microphone because it is more convenient. So we are starting our 8th seminar. It is a very exciting moment for me. And here we are. I'm glad to welcome organizers, presenters, and other participants in our online meeting, Political and Economic Self-Constitution, Media, Political Culture, and Democracy. It is our 8th edition of the seminar. The first seminar took place in 2013 in Dnipropetrovsk at Alfred Nobel University. Also, we met in Sibiu, Romania, Chisinau, Moldova, Kiev, Ukraine, Corinth, Greece, and last year we have met in Padua. This year we should have met in Belgrade, in Institute of Social Sciences, which hosts this seminar this year. But unfortunately, the whole world is in the same unexpected condition. And we decided to have this seminar online and to meet in Zoom for the first time in the history of this seminar. Hopefully, it will be successful, and it will open for us perspectives for future possibilities, and we will meet both online and offline. A few words for those who participate in this seminar for the first time. A few words about the foundation of this seminar. This seminar was founded by Alessandra De Carla, who is present today and who will make presentation today, Eugene Ordanescu, and me, Irina Bandarevskaya. I also invited Vadim Vasyutinsky, who gave the title for the first 3 seminars. Then we changed this title, but still Vadim Vasyutinsky was also involved in the process of foundation. Today, I would also like to introduce our meeting support. Our meeting is supported by Olga Klinduch. Sometimes I will switch to Russian while talking to Olga because it will be quicker for switching some technical issues. Olga Klinduch is an art therapist and EMDR practitioner. Ukrainian Association of Art Therapy also provided us with this channel, and I'm very glad for that. So I would like to ask Alessandra to say several words as one of the founders.
Well, thank you, Irina. As I said, the most I can say is that it's always a pleasure to be here with you. Unfortunately, this year, we cannot be physically together. Hopefully, this is going to happen soon again, because these seminars become a good way for traveling and meeting old friends, because that's what we are after all these years. So I really want to thank all the participants, and especially thank you, Irina, because your perseverance, your effort,
so in society,
your society made
and in the
Vlad, could you please switch off microphone because we hear you.
Prepared.
Made it possible for
prepared.
Probably he has the microphone open, but the audio
and willing to.
Vlad, a video. Could you please switch off microphone?
Willing to imagine, to image
the audio up.
Imagine
up the audio.
This process.
This happens all the time.
Oh yeah, no worries.
During online meetings. Ольга, вы не можете включить микрофон у Влада видео?
I try.
Anyway, so that's what I wanted to say. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Irina, most of all, and it's always a pleasure. Hopefully, we're going to be soon together, and let's enjoy this day via Zoom. That's the best we can do.
Thank you, Alessandra. I'm very happy that you joined us today, and I'm looking forward for your presentation. And now I would like to invite Bojan Todosijević for a welcome speech of the host from Belgrade. I hope we will still meet in Belgrade, but next year. But for this year, we are happy to meet here in Zoom. Bojan, please.
Well, hello, everybody. Yes, the plan was to meet in Belgrade, but unfortunately, we are meeting in virtual space, which I just, by listening to Alessandro, I thought that this situation sort of changed a bit of view for me of both live events and online events. So now you see a bit more clear what you miss in live events. Sometimes you think, oh, is it worth traveling somewhere? But now you see how much I think we miss meetings in person. But then also I think we should appreciate this technological possibility. For instance, for me, this is the first time that I participate directly in the meeting. Together with Zoran Pavlović, we submitted our paper several times, but never were able actually to go physically to the meeting. So, you know, if it's not perfect, but it is good enough that we can meet like this and have this, I think, quite interesting conference with lots of diverse papers. And I think it will be really great experience for all of us. And of course, that soon the global health situation will become better, and then we can switch back to only occasional use of Zoom meetings and a bit more frequent live events. So this would be my welcome, and we can go further. Thanks.
Thank you, Bojan. So we are moving to short overview of our today's program. This online meeting was co-organized by universities, research centers, and institutes from 10 countries. The title of this eighth meeting is Political and Economic Self-Constitution, Media, Political Culture, and Democracy. In the beginning, the focus of our seminar was on economic psychology, but later on we switched to education, to citizenship activity, and this year we will focus on democracy and media issues. I would like to show every organizer. I'm proud that we are such an impressive team, international team of organizations. Among them are Institute of Social Sciences from Serbia, Center for Personal and Social Transformations. It is from Ukraine. I'm head of this NGO. And this NGO is in the list of organizers from the first time. We have organizer from Italy, Cheeses and Syrup, which is presented by Alessandra De Carla. University of Educational Management and Institute for Social and Political Psychology, National Academy of Educational Sciences of Ukraine. Center for Social Representation Studies from Indonesia. Lucian Blaga University of Sibiu and EPIA from Romania. University of Varmia and Maduri in Olsztyn, Poland. University of the Peloponnese in Greece, Moldova State University, Mykolas Romeris University, Lithuania, and University of Pécs Institute of Psychology from Hungary. I would like to apologize in advance if I mispronounce somebody's name or surname, because in such international context, it is very easy to mispronounce something, as unfortunately I haven't lived in every country which is represented. So today we are happy to welcome organizers and participants from 12 countries. Besides those countries which I have mentioned among organizers, we also have a participant from Brazil, which will be organizer next year, from Florianopolis. And we have a presentation from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Banja Luka. Hope I pronounced it properly. So, our meeting today will be divided into several parts. The first part will combine presentations mostly from Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. I think it will be easier if we organize our meeting today the following way. We will have several presentations, then a very short discussion, and then we will have a music break. During music break, I invite participants and organizers to share videos with music, maybe from YouTube, maybe in some other way. We will try how it works technically. I had this idea, but I'm not sure how we will be able to implement it. Hopefully it is successful, and we will use it also next time. During the second part, we will have presentation from Italy, from Anna Maria Silvana De Rosa, from Indonesia, from Riza Pirmanadeli, from Moldova, Zinaida Bolea, and probably Despina Karakatsani will present later today during the fifth part, or when she connects. In our third part, we will have presentation from Brazil, from Andrea Giacomosi, from Romania, from Lavinia Bitea, and Vlad. I'm not sure how to pronounce surname. We will have short discussion, and then we will have a longer music break, or if we don't have enough music, we will have just a break. And it will be a break which can be used for lunch. Then we will have part 4. In this part, we will have presentation from Alessandra De Carla and Mariana Velikodna. And maybe if we don't have enough presentations in the part 5, maybe some participants will not be able to connect. Then we will connect my presentation with presentations from part 4. And we will have discussion. And in the end, we can discuss possibilities for future cooperation. And maybe we will have, we can have some general discussion about today, about our ideas, insights, and so on. Excuse me, I have some technical issue. Алла Москалева, выключите, пожалуйста, микрофон. Алла Степановна, выключите микрофон.
Сейчас я наберу ее, Ирина Олеговна. Здравствуйте, все замечательно.
These technical issues are inevitable during online meetings. So I would like to repeat again that when you do not present, please be sure that your microphone is switched off because there are many presenters and such noise is quite unpleasant. While Alena Bondarchuk is helping me, I would like to start our the most interesting part of our seminar today, which connects all of us together, our presentations. Before we start and during we start, I would like to ask all participants who are already connected to write in chat which city, which country you are from. We have wider geography of connections, and the most interesting issue for me while organizing was to think about time zones. Because we meet online, we don't have a specific place for meeting, geographical place. And at the same time, we live in different time zones, which absolutely changes space of perception of meeting. But it is wonderful and it is interesting and it is quite new for many of us, and it opens a perspective for future meetings. So now I would like to introduce Bojan Todosijević, Zoran Pavlović and Dragan Stanojević with their presentation, Media Consumption and Evaluation of Government Performance in Dealing with COVID-19 Pandemic in Serbia. If you would like to introduce something more about yourself, please feel free to do it in the beginning of the presentation, because I will present only the name. Alena Ivanivna, could you please switch off your microphone? Yes, your microphone is switched off. Somebody's microphone works, I can't see.
Maybe Kara Manav, no, it's switched off, okay.
Yes, it's switched off. Okay, you're welcome, Gwen.
Yeah, thanks, Irina. So I will present a paper that we co-authored together with Zoran Pavlović and Dragan Stanojević. We work at different institutions at the moment, but we've been collaborating for a while on various projects. And this spring, it became obvious that COVID is the topic that we should focus on. The kind of study that we mostly do, as you will see from the paper, is survey research. So we collected public opinion data using online methods of data collection. and try to address several topics and several questions about the relationship between the perception of the pandemic and political attitudes, and so on. So this paper presents one segment of that study. In fact, we conducted several studies, 3 waves on independent samples, but we present here only one, which is most relevant in this case. So I will now switch to sharing the screen. So I hope you see it. Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. This is about the consumption of media, different media outlets, and how it is related to government performance evaluation. That is the opinion of the public, whether government is doing a good job or not, connected with the pandemic. As soon as the pandemic outbroke, it became clear that it's also a political issue, not just a health issue and a social crisis. It became quickly politicized, and it became quickly very easy to recognize from which side somebody is talking about the pandemic in Serbia, whether it's from the government or from the opposition side. And it also became clear that media are not just objective, unbiased, neutral, fact-oriented outlets that transfer news and try to provide objective information, but rather that they have side, which we knew from before. And Serbia is a rather polarized country, politically polarized, and you can, the media are divided quite clearly to which camp they belong. The literature says that media can affect attitudes, citizens. Research on that topic had different emphasis over time, and different mechanisms through which media affect opinion are described, have been described. But the kind of situation at the moment to our reading is that the implication is that media affect citizens under some conditions, but also that citizens actively select media which they pay attention to. So they are not so easily affected by contrary opinion. By being able to select media, it's easier to keep one's views and perceptions. So we wanted to see whether the media consumption affects evaluation of government performance, and whether both media consumption and the evaluations affected somehow political preferences of the public, or the pandemic was not able to influence anything in terms of political attitudes and party preferences. Yeah, I mentioned that media are quite polarized, and that makes Serbia quite an interesting study for this, to study in this context. Our research question, to make it sound more formally, was that whether selective media consumption is associated with the evaluation of the Serbian government's performance concerning its handling of the COVID-19 health crisis. We expect that consumption of particular media will affect how government is evaluated. We conducted this particular survey in the period between July and September this year. It was an online survey, and we included a scale, 4 items, bipolar scale that described government as capable or incapable, benevolent or malicious, unjust or just, and clear and confusing. Each of these scale was 11-point scale, with these are the end points. And the respondents were asked to mark up to 3 sources of information they most often follow in recent days. So therefore, we wanted to see to which sources they pay attention more, whether these are pro-government or contra-government. And here are quickly our results. Here is at the top is the literal question, how it sounded. And we see that our respondents were quite critical towards the government. So they, majority described the government as incompetent, as being malicious in intentions, as being particularly confusing. This is the highest percentage here, which the government was quite giving contradictory information at different points in time, and as unjust in the reaction. Our sample is not a random sample of the national population. Unfortunately, we didn't have resources to do it that way, but it is quite varied and covers both the territory and different social status. So partly because of biased internet penetration, the survey catches more of opposition-oriented respondents, but we still see the pattern. What is actually more important is how these evaluations are associated with consumption of particular media outlets. So this group here are the pro-government media. This we categorize as pro-opposition media, and sort of this group here, one's own internet research and paying attention, following foreign media via internet or cable, as sort of neutral, because they not necessarily refer to the government handling positive or negative. And although there is plenty of coefficients here, they are rather uniform. Pro-government consumption of this media is negatively associated with seeing the government that it is incapable, but rather positively as capable. So this consumption of pro-government media is associated with more positive evaluation of the government. So they would more likely see the government as capable, benevolent, just, because here is positive coefficient, and as confusing, as clear, of course. The opposition here coefficients are in the opposite directions than here. So the individuals who follow this media have contrary evaluations of the government. And respondents who marked these two media outlets, they are closer to the opposition in their pattern of association than to the government, which to some extent is understandable, because here we expect that respondents have a chance to see a broader area of attitudes and views about the whole situation of the pandemic. So we conclude here that yes, what kinds of media one consults is very much associated with how you evaluate the government. And now some parts of our analysis that are not in the paper because of limitations of the size, but this is quite interesting. Here we ask, this is another view of the previous associations. We see that examples of several media outlets. So this pink TV is strongly pro-government, and we see the distribution of respondents who follow this media. There is a sharp peak on this side. One's own internet research, supposedly neutral ideologically or politically neutral, we have here a high peak. And the RTS is the main national news channel, which includes actually different sources, both the national TV, but also a number of radio stations, which not all are equally openly pro-government bias. So we have a bit more flat distribution here. So it is interesting how the media consumption is associated with the these attitudes towards the success of the government. And here we see an interesting, again, distribution about the question whether pandemic, the way that the government handled it, influenced which party or electoral system you did vote in this election, because we had in June national elections at the time. So it was quite an interesting event to organize elections in the middle of the pandemic. And most people say, of course, that this did not impact them. But whether it's associated with the media consumption, we found that it's actually not. What media you consume just reinforces, apparently, your political views. So it's a very small, up around 10%. That's yes, it affected a lot, but the vast majority, regardless of what is the media source, we could have drawn all of them. We just chose several. Said that it did not affect them. So just to reiterate the conclusion, a preference for certain media outlet is associated with a more positive or negative evaluation of how the Serbian government has handled the COVID crisis. Only few respondents claim that government's performance actually affected their vote choice. The pre-existing political ideological preferences seem to be responsible for the observed association. Political and ideological orientation affects one's media preference as well as the attitudes towards the governing or opposition parties. But also the content of media may influence the evaluations independently. We should have this in mind. For instance, being exposed to the content provided by the Serbian National Public Service broadcaster may itself shape one's view of the government policies regardless of the political orientation before the crisis. However, we think that most likely there is a bi-directional influence. Still, the impression is that the role of pre-existing association is quite more influential. Well, thanks for your attention, and I'm looking forward to discussion.
Thank you, Bojan, for such an interesting presentation, which suits absolutely the program of the topic of the seminar, and which is opening the direction. As I have mentioned earlier, discussion will be after 3 presentations. And after our next presentation, due to the program, is also from Serbia. The title is New Models of Acculturation and Democratic Institutional Change During COVID-19 Crisis, authored by Dijana Vukomanovic.
So hello, good morning or good afternoon to everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Irina and to our colleagues who invested so much time and efforts to organize all of us and make possible this seminar. I hope that I will be successful to share with you my PowerPoint presentations, or I should share screen, I suppose. I'm not quite familiar. How could I share my presentation with you?
I guess first you open your presentation on your computer, and then you press share screen.
Sorry about that. So I'm following.
Same condition.
Okay, just a second. Sorry about that.
Sure.
It's
No
okay. This share screen button is on the Zoom screen at the center at the bottom of usually the green button.
Oh, okay. So can you see this?
Yes.
This, okay. As Irina said, I am focused to analyze how this COVID-19 crisis has brought swift and tremendous changes to our lives and challenges, and also how basic democratic institutions are making changes in operation in order to meet those challenges. So I always use this picture of laboratory, since I think that all of us are feeling that all of us are in some kind of scientific science fiction experiment, and that is why I put this picture first, because all of us have been surprised what is going on. So I want to also emphasize that this crisis, this pandemic, is not only a health nightmare, but also it is a scientific dream. It is a tremendous challenge, not only for our colleagues from natural sciences, but also from all of us who are working in social sciences, in political sciences, in cultural arena, and all of us are trying to find our answers how to cope with this crisis. So this COVID crisis is changing our self-constructive patterns of contemporary political world, our Weltanschauung, namely our view of the world, the concept of liberties, the concept of the new world order, the concept of nation state, the concept of borders, the concept of citizenship. So everything will be changed. So I'm also looking how this crisis is changing the perception of citizens' role in democracy, citizens as a group, but also on individual level, citizens as an individual actor of political system. And I think that we should focus our analysis how basic democratic institutions such parliaments or elections can adapt to prove that they are sustainable in the time of this pandemic turmoil. Because for citizens, parliaments and elections are the basic tools to express their collective or individual will. So I think that we can use this concept of acculturation that is originally described long time ago, and that we should see how acculturation or adaptation or assimilation or integration occurs as a result of continuous and direct contacts between the groups of people or individuals belonging to different cultures, because we are interconnected. Even in this seminar, we are for 10 to 12 countries from around the world, and what we could learn from each other, and how can we modify our original cultural patterns of some another groups in our society. So we have seen that after COVID-19 pandemic has been declared by the World Health Organization, people started to learn from scratch what they could already have seen. For example, in Asia, that people have been wearing a mask from 2003, but people from Europe or in another parts of the world have not been very keen to wear a mask, although we had the opportunity to see people from Asia in airplanes that they are wearing a mask long time ago. And that is something that we, all of us, have forgotten, that our ancestors 1 century ago, who have been challenged by Spanish flu epidemic after the First World War, were also wearing a mask. So in the 21st high technology society, we are using and we are starting to use the same tool, piece of cotton fabric on our face to protect us from the pandemic. And I was using this the picture that is this is drawing made by the school pupil who pictured that the whole planet, not just the humans, but the whole planet is wearing a mask on its face. The nature is in danger also, and although we are living in high technology society, this piece of cotton fabric is protecting us, but all of us feel that we are behind the bars, that we are captured somehow with this pandemic. And all generations are also faced with new normality. What this new normality means, that means that new gospel of health enlightenment is telling us that we should respect social distancing, that we should be educated from home like children, that we should all work from home, that we should all have conferences from our home. But the most vulnerable group of people are elderly, who are completely, if I may say so, outcasted from the society, and who are completely separated from their families. And I think that they suffer the most. So lockdown measures are also very good example how society and how state and how the world order is changing. So we can see that new world healthcare order is legitimized through the new culture of fear and obedience. So as Bojan pointed out, that state media is highlighting that perception of fear and that perception that politicians and strong state could protect you from the pandemic. So I think that this lockdown is really a new sign of new politics. What is the reaction on individual level? It is these two conflicting logics. One that is telling us that wearing a mask isn't a political statement. This is not a political issue, how to regulate this pandemic, but it is an IQ test, whether you will decide to protect yourself. But people who are more sensitive to democracy and to the concept of freedoms think that we should challenge new lockdown rules, and we should challenge these restrictive measures that are imposed by governments. So people went on the streets. So what we can see is massive protests on the streets, and different conspiracy theories like corona vaccination or 5G internet connections, or connection between humans that is endangered by artificial intelligence. So all those conspiracy theories are on the street or on the social networks, but I think that they do not have enough capacity, social the capacities to be integrated to the mainstream political agenda. But as political scientists or social scientists, we should be focused to the question, what this process of compulsory health-oriented acculturation is telling us about the future of the concept of citizenship. Shall I remind you that traditional Rousseau's social contract between citizens and rulers is in the process of serious redefinition, because Rousseau vision that is established long time ago of democracy said that individual citizen is the creator of political statehoods. He or she, me or you, we are not obedient servant, but we are enactors of people's sovereignty. But we can see that politicians are sovereign right now. So we have this situation that democracy and human rights have been eclipsed by the COVID crisis, while on the other hand, we have been informed, and the main interpretation is that this is a new mode of health enlightenment, of healthcare culture that should be established within our society. So as I said at the beginning, I'm looking whether this fundamental institution of democracy are capable to reassure their constitutional roles. What is inscripted in our constitution is that parliament is strong when emergency government powers were both limited in time and scope and subject to parliamentary oversight. But our colleagues have been very keen to see how parliaments are capable to respond to this COVID crisis. And what you can see is that world map, because our colleague from International Institute of Democracy and Electoral Assistance were observing how parliaments are functioning during this crisis. And on this map of the world, you can see the red color in China, for example, or in Algeria, or in some European countries where parliaments are capable to function as normal, as nothing has happened, we can see, or this pale red color where the different modes of operation during COVID crisis have been blueprinted, but also we have the cases, as in Serbia, that parliament has been suspended completely. So you have this data out of 166 parliaments around the world. 12 of them have been capable to continue to work as before pandemic, and 82, half of them, blueprinted plenary measures. So the institutional change is possible. 82 parliaments around the world have blueprinted different measures, such as reduced quorum, proxy vote, virtual meetings, social distancing, so to be able to operate during the crisis. And lessons learned from this process of institutional change is that only effective parliamentary engagement, oversight of governments during a crisis is essential to preserving democracy. Only when parliaments have been present in discussing people's fears and people's needs during COVID crisis, citizens have been able to comply with necessary restrictive measures, and that is the best possible outcome. Concerning the elections, you have this data that are collected throughout the world, and when you can see that 2/3, 60 out of more than 19 countries and territories decided to hold national or subnational elections or referendums. And concerning the turnout, citizen turnout, voter turnout in 18 countries, it was, for me, it was unexpectedly low decrease, because it was noted that 6.2 people less than before have been willing to go for elections. I would expect that this drop in turnout would be much more larger. And conclusion from presented data is very optimistic. I mean, concerning how parliaments have been functioning and how elections have been functioning during the crisis. So it is obvious that for the people, democracy matters still, and that the people are still able to put their health to risk to actively participate in parliamentary debate, in elections, or even on the street protest. That is exactly how democracy works. And conclusion is also that both citizens and politicians are capable to acculturate themselves to new extraordinary circumstances and to facilitate institutional change and crisis management. So not only politicians, but also people have been active actively participating in crisis management. And the last conclusion is that COVID crisis is teaching us how to become more passionate defenders of human rights and activists, and how democracy should be defended, and that those keywords, freedom, representation, human rights, voting, engagement, participation, are really crucial for all of us, not only social scientists, but also for ordinary people to defend our basic human rights and democracy during the crisis. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you a lot for your presentation and for talking about such an important issue as democracy, especially now during the COVID crisis, when democracy is decreasing in many countries. It is very important that we researchers put our efforts in democracy rise, because as one of Ukrainian sociologists, Dijana, told once, democracy is not what is given to us. Democracy is something which requires permanent actions for keeping it. Thank you a lot. And our next presentation is from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Democratization and Dominant Values in Bosnia and Herzegovina Society, Political Liberalism and Authoritarian Collectivism by Alexandar Jankovic. Alexander?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I will show my presentation on the screen. Okay. It's now on. Can you hear me clear?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Alexandar Jankovic. I'm coming from University of Banja Luka, Faculty of Political Sciences. My research is democratization and dominant values in Bosnia and Herzegovina, especially political liberalism. This is one empirical research of attitudes. In the last 3 decades in Bosnia and Herzegovina, as well as any other post-socialist countries, has been dramatical social changes, like destroy of state, like in social Yugoslavia, socialist Yugoslavia, and any other countries, ethnic conflicts and civil war, were in Bosnia from 1992 to 1995, destroy of complete society, deep fall of economy, spread of poverty and employment, unsuccessful privatization, rise of radical ideology like ethnic nationalism, retraditionalization of everyday life, situation we call the destroyed society in theoretical studies. That was generally situation. We conducted social transformation to a market economy and political democracy. We have another few changes, like rise of social and economic inequalities, value changes, class differentiation, rise of social mobility of less individuals like private entrepreneurs, economic elites, and so on. This is one theoretical model of socialism and capitalism. We can speak now about transition to market economy, and political pluralism can be considered like two neutral processes. One is modernization of society, and second is system changes. System changes involves a change in the mode of production, of social life, or change of established social relations between classes, between stratus, with which thereby is changed the basis upon which the class relations exist and the manner of constituting of classes themselves. This is one as I said, this is one theoretical model opposite with opposite theory conception about socialism and capitalism. In socialism, there is no separation between economic, political, and cultural subsystems. Opposite in capitalism, there are different regulation of economic, political, and cultural subsystems from different centers. Strong control is very social control is very strong by authorities in socialism, and we don't have that situation in capitalism. We just can speak about theoretical framework of this survey. We started from a few theoretical assumptions. First one is that major social changes are followed by the changes in people's consciousness, value patterns, as well as the specific behavior of individuals and groups who are trying to adapt their social functioning to
Alexander, we don't hear you, sound disappeared.
Участь їх розвитку. Також було виявлено ряд проблем щодо розвитку лідерських якостей здобувачів освіти і професійно-технічних навчальних закладів. Це теоретико-методологічно не розроблені проблематики розвитку лідерських якостей.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, now we hear you.
Okay, excuse me.
Oh, okay.
Okay. As well as specific behavior of individual and groups who are trying to adapt their social functioning to changing social circumstances. While some believe that value changes occur as a product of social change, others believe that this is in two-way relationship. Next assumption is that the acceptance of certain value orientations depends on the class layered affiliation, and that different classes are formed and at distinctive value systems. Third assumptions is that dominant values are created and played in the ruling social class, and that are gradually spread or rather imposed to the other social strata as a conceptual framework for interpreting social reality. Some scientists speak about cultural hegemony. The relationship between the normative system, which regulates the functioning of social order, and the dominant value orientation, and the dominant value orientation value system which regulates the functioning of social order, and dominant value system, which directs the individual and collective action in desired direction, is explained by using the theory of value normative dissonance. We have now on the screen some model of values and social norms, and 4 different situations who discover situation we had in last 3 decades. Now attention we can pay for value consistency. Value consistency is degree of homogeneity of value orientation, and on analytical level is one of the main notion. High consistency is prerequisite for collective action towards promotion and protection of class interests. This is one slide I described it, and now we can speak about objectives of survey. Research goal is to examine intensity and prevalence of value orientation of political liberalism and opposite authoritarian collectivism. This is the opposite poles of the same scale. Respondents were young people below 30 years in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and we compared 2 points in time, last 80s and period of consolidation post-socialist transformation after global financial and economic crisis 2012. We can now speak about method and procedure. The scale of political liberalism for 1989 originally contained a few items. This is 8 items you can see on screen. Judiciary must ultimately serve the authorities. Without leader, every nation is like a man without a hand. Full freedom of speech today leads to disorganization of society. There are 2 main types of people, strong and weak. The most important thing for children is to teach obedience to parents, collective interest.
Дані представлені на вказаному слайді.
Hello. Collective interests must be more important than the interests of individuals. Multi-party system guarantees the expression of the interests of all social groups. Superiors should be listened to even when they are wrong. In the next point of time, we add two items. The media should have more understanding for power, and media does not take into account the national interest should be banned. The data are collected in 2 empirical research. We had above 550 respondents in both times in both surveys. One survey was conducted in socialist Yugoslavia, and one in post-socialist Bosnia society. as we spoke about data, we can say that Cronbach alpha coefficients was above 0,669 in both surveys, and we had one factor after factor analysis in first survey, and two factors in second survey. We can now speak about results. Presence of liberal value orientation at the end of 80s was result of specific character of Yugoslav socialism. It was a liberal and West-oriented system. Liberal values were gradually spread, especially among members of ruling class and professionals like managers, like physicians, like professors, and any others. It is believed that the ruling class accepted the liberal values due to interest by establishment of the permanent intergenerational transfer of high social positions, which is described by many scientists, especially Professor Lazić, like conversion of resources from power to economic resources. Now we can speak about accepting liberal value orientations in the post-socialist period in second point in time. We found the most controversial findings. Extensive empirical material has enabled the adoption of wider and more precise conclusion. Contrary to our expectation of the growth of political liberalism in post-socialist period, which would be in line with the new normative and institutional order, there was a strong decline and growth opposite orientation, authoritarian collectivism. In other words, value normative dissonance has not reduced, but increased. Although the growth of authoritarianism was not, which tell us that this value orientation deeply penetrated into all segments of society. Now we can see a few tables who can describe precisely what can I speak about. This is 10 items in two tables, and percent of liberal orientation of respondents in two different time points of time, and average score who described what I speak about. We can see that on first table only two items was in fact liberal oriented, second and fourth, and on the second table we can see also same situation. Only two items were above average score there were liberal-oriented one in 80s and one in post-socialist period. Next one table is a table for some scale of political liberalism. Scores above 3 mean liberal orientations and below 3 mean anti-liberal orientation. We know we can see that no one scale was on the pole of political liberalism, none in 80s, none in 2012. And now we can see results in for 3 items in this year. Research conducted on citizens of Banja Luka, second biggest city in the Bosnia and Herzegovina after local election in November. It was non-representative sample because COVID pandemic, and this research has not finished yet. We can see only three items in table, and we can see that average score is above, and this time is on a liberal pole of scale, and it can be message that social changes in Bosnia is possible in this time. Thank you for attention. It was my presentation and my speaking.
Alexandra, thank you a lot for your presentation and for talking about such important things which are not important only in Bosnia and Herzegovina, but also in many other countries, namely in Ukraine. Now I would like to move to discussion. We are a bit late in time as usual, but still I think we need some time for discussing this very important and interesting part of our program. So I would like to take advantage of my role and ask the first question to all 3 presenters, and any of you can reply, depends on what you are willing to say. The question is how media consumption can be connected to citizenship identity, including citizenship activity, citizenship values, citizenship attitudes as part of citizenship identity. Maybe you don't have an empirical result, but still you have your expert observations from your research and from your colleagues' research. Please, who would like to reply?
Well, I'm not exactly sure how to reply. I'm not exactly sure I fully understand what do you mean by the question? If you could maybe clarify a little bit, then maybe we have a easier time responding.
This question is quite wide, and it doesn't require a precise reply. Mm-hmm. You can keep wider perspective in replying. The connection between media consumption and citizenship identity, citizenship behavior.
Yeah, well, let me speculate then. I think it depends. It's affected very much about on the polarization, political polarization in a particular context, and to what extent the media are also following the divide. And I think these things often are correlated in across societies. So in Serbia, now we have rather sharp social division in terms of views on politics, political culture, and so on. And it's followed by the media, and it's also politically, I think, reflected in politics. Or depends what is reflection of what. So I think that the citizenship identity is affected by that, and I would think that what we can observe now is a sort of expressed in the attitude in Serbia that citizenship is sort of decreasingly valued as something worth having, like Serbian citizenship. So now when you have dissatisfaction with something happening politically, especially now on the opposition side, because for a while the government has been very strong with the large support of the population, and it doesn't seem likely that a major political change is going to occur in the near future. So on the side of the public that's on the opposite political spectrum, I think you have sort of here sort of distancing of this from the feelings, positive feelings about citizenship and so on. So I don't know if that fits your question, but I think that is then that media consumption takes part in it, because the media are part of the overall polarized picture of the polarized society. It's not always easy to say what comes before, whether media or attitudes on the politics, but that is media are part of the, I think, general division. I don't know if I understood your question, but this would be my speculations on that topic.
Yes, thank you a lot, Bojan. And maybe somebody else would be willing. Yes, Diana?
I just want to tell you that not only official media, like Bojan already pointed out, that we have the public channel, public TV, public service that is official TV, for what all citizens are paying for. But we also have social networks, and social networks have been very influential during this crisis to preserve the sense of citizenship, the sense that individual opinion is still matters in this crisis. We have also new actors who are entering the public arena, and those are medical doctors, physicians. So we have politicians, we have citizens, and we have scientists, physicians, medical doctors who are telling us what to do. And this is quite new for all of us in this contemporary world, because we are used to oppose what politicians are telling us, no matter whether they are ruling politicians or opposition politicians. But we are more keen to listen to doctors, what this kind of elite is telling us. So I think that the citizens have the final solution for them was only to go to the street to participate in massive protests to express their citizenship. For example, in Serbia, state of emergency have been decided not by parliament, what is written in the constitution, but only by three men. one man and two women, president of the state, president of the parliament, and president of the government. So 3 people have decided to that a state of emergency should be applied in this situation. No parliament and no citizens, but with the great support of medical doctors. So I think that we have new actors who are entering the public arena, and they are very influential right now.
Thank you for your expert opinion. And really, in some countries, social media, due to Reuters Institute research, have higher trust from population than official media. And this research was done before COVID crisis, and the importance of medical elite was not considered during that research, but now I think it can be, it can give also very interesting results, including medical elite and also scientific elites, which are likely to become more and more influential, because we as scientists I expect that we are going to be granted more trust than most politicians, at least in Ukraine. Political trust is very low in Ukraine, and scientists from sometimes have trust from population. Does anybody else want to participate in discussion, giving their comments or asking a question?
If it's possible, I would like to say something.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. First of all, I found very interesting all the 3 presentations, and that now following also the last comment about the role of the expert in the communication and in supporting or legitimizing the political power view in relation to the citizens. This has become a very topical issue in the media studies of communication. For example, there is a network led by the University of Stockholm that are going to publish a book, to which I also will contribute, on specific the role of the expert in the management of the COVID crisis. But for example, we start to study the controversial political communication that, although it seemed just a play of democracy, it also, you know, become a political game between the government and the other actor from opposed political positioning. For example, in Italy, we have assisted a big conflict, a continuous controversial positioning between government, legitimized by experts, and other opponent actors, like, for example, governor of the region, because we have a national power, the government, and for health reason, as in other countries like in Canada, there is the power is in the hand of the governor. And of course, in a situation that affects all the country and the entire world, it's very difficult to combine a very localized view of the interest of their own citizen with let's say, a sovereign order entity, like the interest of the all citizen, where, for example, there is a conflict between health and economy, a continuous conflict. So when the government takes severe measure for protecting public health, the governor from some region oppose to the expert, opposed to the government, because they want to protect local economy. So to have everything open, no lockdown, no close, no interdiction of mobility and so on. So it's very, complex phenomenon to be studied from the point of view of a communication. It is not, okay, we are more democratic or less democratic just because we are able to vote, but which is the dynamic behind. We have seen also how this pandemic has been exploited, for example, in the US last election for Biden and Trump. Anyway, I found very interesting the communication also from the point of view of the iconic representation, especially in the second one. And I have a question for the third one, but I think that he moved out because this was more a comment than a question, but I would like to pose a question. May I?
Is Alexander here? Alexandar Jankovic?
Yes, for the third, Alexander, yes. About the value, the political liberalism versus authoritarian collectivism. Was the third speaker.
Maybe he is not fully connected now.
Yeah, okay.
Alexander, could you switch on a microphone? Alexander?
He wrote in the chat that he will have to leave, but I don't know. It seems that he's already gone. So
yeah, okay.
I think
maybe Alexander will join us a bit later.
Yeah. And the question was about the role of a populism in the new scenario of ideological contraposition between the, let's say, the old ideological system which oppose Marxism and liberalism, and this new phenomenon that affect all society from east to west regarding the populism, which is anti-elite, anti-ideological, much based on the power of one-to-one information, and so a lot related with the social media communication. And I think that should be considered in between these two systems. And I found interesting this increasing of the need for authoritarian authority, because in many countries we find these emergencies of a new leader, especially from sovereignist orientation, looking for become the strong man to protect the citizen, but exploiting the fear. No. This has been Trump in the US, even using COVID. First of all, okay, I don't want to take too much time, but I find very interesting this intervention.
Yes, this technique is used not only on the level of the state, but also on the level of separate organizations, even scientific organizations. Yeah. I see that Beata joined us. I'm very happy, and from Poland, and Andrea from Brazil is here. We have a very wide geography, not only European countries, but also Indonesia and Brazil is connected now. And as we are late as usual in our schedule, in our program, I would suggest to take a short break now, music break, and then we will return and we will start with Anna Maria presentation, which is the first and the second part. So our first music break, Bojan, do you have some music to switch on? Your microphone doesn't work.
Yeah, just a second. So if I play a YouTube,
Okay. And we can have this time with switched on music to take a cup of tea or some snacks.